business, startups, and entrepreneurs. Sharing knowledge and stories is why I started Telling It Like It Is. It is a live show. If you have any comments, please put them in there. If you're watching this after the fact on another social media platform, please feel free to ask a question and we will get back to you. I am extremely excited about today's guest. It's Tom Morin, the founder of Work Feels Good and author of Your Best Work. And I got the book right here. So does Tom, obviously. And Tom, thank you for joining me. How are you today?
Really good, Jade. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
Oh, no, it is. And I mean, you've been on before, and it's something that we talked about. And all of our chats before were the build up to the release of the book. So I'm so pumped it's out there. I'm excited. I mean, obviously we've had a few conversations about it. You're elated.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a great journey to get from a year ago to conceptualizing it to now where it's out in the world. And yeah, I feel really good about it. And the feedback has been just wonderful. So all good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know I'm probably one of the few that actually got a signed version. So I'm pretty excited about that. I should probably just frame it. I shouldn't read it again, even though I'm probably going to. I really thought it was good. So I know you can buy it on Amazon, and where else?
Sure. So it's all the major retailers. Of course, Amazon is the largest book retailer in the world. So right now, yeah, you can get print and electronic versions on Amazon, Barnes and Noble in the States. It's UK, Australia. So there's all these outlets, so mostly online. And yeah, it's and of course, little teaser, nobody knows about this yet. The audio version will probably be published in, I would say, a month to 6 weeks. So really looking forward to that.
No, that's awesome. An audio version. I mean, so many people are listening to that in their cars, driving, whatever it may be, right? That's excellent. So I'll give a brief little introduction here, Tom, and then we'll get at it. I think we're going to have a great, important discussion today. So some of you may not know this, but Tom was nearly killed twice at work and then a third time trying to escape unfulfilling work. His last brush with death forced him to critically examine his own working life and compelled him to help others do the same. Tom is an inspiring and empowering speaker, author. As a coach and consultant, he accelerates leaders and teams towards their goals. His challenging and sometimes dangerous working life and his military and corporate leadership experience inspires his audiences, readers, and clients to make meaningful work and lead into critical moments. So I want to kind of touch on a little bit of COVID first before we move forward. And obviously creating a meaningful life and a meaningful work and thriving organizations is important. So how is the COVID crisis changing our career paths and our businesses?
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that's changed, and we are about, I would say, 7-8 weeks into nationwide social isolation. And I think the largest impact we've had is it's changed what people value, and people are really starting to see what they can control and what they can't. So if you valued certain things about work, so maybe it was the social aspect of going downtown or to your office every day. Maybe it was, a certain service you're able to provide to the public, or perhaps it was a product that you really love this product. Not only are we changing what we value, but your customers are changing what they value. And then also what we can control. There's only so much we can control in our working lives, but there's other things that we never knew we had as much control over. So that's going to be unique for everybody. But I would say values are changing and we're getting a better understanding of control.
So do you think values were changing a little bit before and this accelerated them, or do you think it was just like, boom, COVID values have changed?
Yeah, I think as we, over the years in society, our values change a lot, based on what happens in the world. But I really think, I know, you've seen this too. People will say, I will never take my friends for granted again. So everybody's on, within a week, we were scheduled, and we have another one coming up on Saturday night. We have these Saturday night Zoom calls with friends, and there's like 10 of us online. And before COVID, we would get together, say every 3 months, every 4 months. Well, now we're talking every week, and we just thrive on that connection. So we really value that connection now much more than my wife Joanna and I would say, oh, we finally got a quiet Saturday night, let's just relax. It's like, no, we got a Saturday night, we need to connect with friends. So what we value is changing, and I think it's just accelerated because of COVID, but it's also shifted.
So do you think those, I mean, obviously we have Zoom calls too, and a lot of that has moved in towards obviously Zoom. So do you think as we proceed and get out of this, that people will change their mindset back to the old way of thinking and get together once every 3 months or once every X amount of time? Or do you think they'll continue Zoom calls?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people ask me about the future, like the future of work, the future of organizations, all those kind of things. And normally we're wrong when we try to predict the future. I mean, but we want to prepare a little bit, right? So
Yes.
as we know that we need to start engaging in our economy again, we need that many of us who have had their work scaled back, we need to ramp up again. So that will cause us to change a bit. So do we keep having these Zoom calls every week, for example, in my case? Maybe not, but are we going to try to, are we going to get triggered? Like 2 or 3 weeks have gone by, we haven't had anything yet. We're going to start to feel a little abnormal being too long away from our friends. So before it felt normal. Sometimes it was 6 months. A couple friends, we only saw them at New Year's. I don't think we'll see that anymore, but what the new normal will be, hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before, and obviously, the silver lining is the amount of time I get to spend with my girls and the family here and the wife, and it's great, and we love it. And I mean, obviously, I hope everything gets back to normal, and we don't have any more pandemics like this. But I definitely agree with you when it comes to. I mean, I was always talking with my friends, so some of that hasn't. I've actually lost contact with some of them because I don't see them at the gym and the squash or whatever it is. And is that my fault? I don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, now I'm sending them a text here and there, but the conversations that I used to have with some of them is a little different. And I mean, and that kind of rolls into my next question. Like, everybody is like really stressed right now, but is there one thing that we can still do for people to, stay in contact and help their careers and businesses?
Yeah. So, there's an old saying in finance and investing, and it's I'll say it and then I'll relate it to the world of work. So there's an old saying that says, never confuse a bull market with brains. So what they're really saying is, when things are going up and looking good, investors make a ton of money, and we should never think we're brilliant because we're riding an upward trend. So what I would offer people is that if your working life has taken a massive hit right now, and we are by far in one of the greatest periods of uncertainty in business and careers that we've seen in recent history. And what I mean by recent history is we would have to go back to major recessions, global recessions. And, this is bigger, I know people might disagree, but this is bigger than the dot-com bust in the early 2000s. Some people are comparing it to the Great Depression. So if your business was doing well, really well, or your career was going really well, there's 2 reasons why it might have been doing that. Either you're, like I say, you were in the sweet spot for yourself, you loved what you do, you're really motivated to what you do, and you've really just had a bit of perhaps supply chain disruption or slowdown right now, but you're not completely disillusioned. Or if your career was going really well and it seems to have disappeared forever, you might have just been riding a popular trend in business, a popular trend in careers that were. So if we look at occupations, certain occupations over the years are amazingly expensive to get. I mean, if we look at the early 2000s, certain IT professionals in certain cities were like commanding huge prices, almost like lawyers, but that becomes commoditized. And before you know it, it's like, okay, they can't charge anymore. So they ride a trend. So if you feel you've been riding a trend that's never been there anymore, it's time to take a hard look at that. So that's that never confusable market with brains. And it's a tough thing to do. I'm not saying people don't have brains, but just because your business was going up and making money, were you just riding a trend, or did you actually have that fantastic business that is going to pick up again right after this? You kind of have to ask yourself that question.
Yeah, there are a lot of uncertainties. Will things get back to normal? Will people go out there? Will their mindset change when it comes to to buying things? Are they getting comfortable ordering online? Those are all things that I mean, we can't answer. We can guess. We can think about. But I mean, I don't really know exactly what's going to happen. And I mean, I really do hope things go back to normal, but I can't predict that either.
No.
Again, I'm talking with Tom Morin of workfeelsgood.com. If you need to click on his link, it is in the comments section. He's an author, a keynote speaker, and a university instructor. So I would like to kind of talk about your new book a little bit.
Thanks, Jared. I'd love to hold it up at the same time so we can be a great shot there. There we go. Thank you.
So, I mean, your best work created the working life that's right for you, and it released in the middle of this. And I know you have to postpone it a little bit, I think, or downplay it. So what's your book about? And let's please tell us why you decided to write it.
Yeah. So writing it was so why write it? I had been consulting for organizations and helping individuals for years, and in two areas. One is career transition, so they're dissatisfied in their working lives, they want to make a change, or it's organizations that need to engage their team or improve their leadership. So that's a fantastic gig. It's a great thing to be able to engage with somebody one-on-one in a team and help them. But a couple of years ago, I was thinking, how am I going to take, I started speaking and I started standing in front of all these, big audiences. And I thought in 45 minutes or an hour, I've basically helped to some degree a lot of people. So the natural progression was, let's put it, as much as we can in a book. And then for like $20 if you buy the print book, or $10 if you buy the electronic book, you really have so much more. So it was a way to reach way more people than I'd ever be able to reach one-on-one or working with organizations. So that was the big motivation to write it.
And I know it's a process, and I've had people on before that have written books, and actually I'm going to have another one on next week that is going to be an author with Connie. Can you explain the process? Because I know some people just think, I can, here we go. I'm going to pop up a Word doc on my thing, start typing away, and that's going to have a book.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to right away set your expectations for the book. So why even bother? Why even bother writing the book? Is it to support an aspect of your business? Is it a passion project? Is it for sales? So you've really got to decide, because your reason for writing the book will determine the output. So if you're writing a book that you say this thing has to sell a ton of copies, well, then you're going to have to make sure that your brand can support that. And the book you've done what's called a competitive title analysis. So you've got, you know what's out there in the marketplace, and you really feel you can push through. Because, writing a best-selling book that actually is a bestseller, hundreds of thousands of copies in North America, is a bit of like winning the lottery. Now, if your book wants to support your business, so for example, you're a consultant, and every business you work with, they buy 10 copies, 100 copies, and they can really, it really helps their teams and their individuals in their organizations move through something. Then that becomes a great leader for a great sales lead. And there's another good reason to write a book, and that's a very personal reason. If you feel that you need to get something out and it's important for it to be out there, a real passion project, that's another reason to do it. So know why you're doing it. And then as soon as you know why you're doing it, you'll immediately recognize who can help you if you need some help. So the process basically is a lot of grinding out of the first draft. Then there's however much editing you want to do. Then it's design. And then it really is distribution, publicity, and marketing after that. And there's all kinds of channels for that. But that's like, it's a real complex market out there, but it is accessible to everybody. So if you want to write a book, start doing your research, and you'll find out how to write it in a way that's right for you.
No, that's some great advice. I put a little Word document, and I wrote a book on it, and it left my desktop in about a month.
Oh, yeah.
It's not something, again, I have a passion for it. I want to do I got no interest in it. So
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks, but a couple of your other passions, I've seen you give a couple keynotes now, and I was at one of the mental wellness conference here in Calgary in December. I was emceeing it, and your speech was great. And obviously you're able to share your knowledge as a university instructor as well. So can you share a little bit about those and how the book relates to that?
Sure. So I'm able to speak at a range of events, and the work I do for universities is really small time commitment. I teach one course once a year remotely for a university on Vancouver Island, Royal Roads University. That's about a 9-week commitment online. And then I run these workshops at Mount Royal University. Those had been in person for the past 4 years. So it's a 2-day course 3 times a year. And we're taking that online now in January. So I think what people like to see when I talk is, we've all got that individual experience. Like I always say that, people say, "Oh, Tom, you've lived this incredibly interesting life, almost, the military almost getting killed, drilling rigs almost getting killed, and then this mountaineering accident you had and all this stuff." And I said, well, really, when you look at anybody's life, if you really look hard at your life, we're all unique and we all have a story to tell. So I think there's a couple things that if you want to reach a wide range of people as a speaking audience, as a writer, or even just to help people, really try to understand your own story, and then relating it to people is a bit of an investigation into how other people have had that story. So, for example, my university work and my academic work has kind of trained me how to do research. So if I'm talking about workplace dissatisfaction, I mean, of course, I can talk about my own dissatisfaction in my early career, but then, of course, I know how to find the right research and analyze it so I can explain how dissatisfaction is trending across North America, for example, or leadership behavior, things like that. So the university work does help there.
No, absolutely. I mean, you brought up a really good point there. And I think this is going to lead into my next question about how you're teaching a class and now it's gone virtual. We had your book launch, which was kind of throwing the COVID threw it off a little bit. And obviously keynotes. I mean, you just can't fly anywhere and do a keynote now. So how has this really affected your business?
Yeah. And, and that's important is when somebody tells me, well, COVID really hasn't affected my business, like that's fantastic. Or perhaps they're not taking a close enough look at their business, or we know some people are in denial, but there is no doubt that COVID has had a huge impact on my business. And when I say impact, I also follow that up with say massive impact, massive positive change. So I'm always looking to find out how, to learn how I can adjust. So the first thing that happened was all my speaking engagements for 2020 were canceled. Just literally in about a 3-week period, I got email after email saying that events were canceled. Now that's tough, right? It's you're planning to speak in front of hundreds of people. You've got all your airfare lined up and hotels and gone. Okay, number one. Number two, the book was released on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Not the luckiest St. Patrick's Day this year for me. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So what happened there, because the book was released in the midst of COVID, we had a discussion about a week before saying, hey, are we really going to do this? I mean, all my speaking engagements are canceled. Do we still want to release a book? And this is what I think is helpful for a lot of businesses. If you really love what you do, and if you can see how what you do contributes to someone else's well-being in a way that's right for them, then you're so motivated to keep going forward. So I love what I do, and I really try to help people where they're at. So we said we have to release this book because if it helps one person, 10 people, 100 people change their working lives during this crisis, it's worth it. So we went forward with releasing the book. Of course, we couldn't do the publicity that we wanted because it would have been tone deaf. I mean, who wants to hear about Tom's new book when people are losing their jobs? Health, there's deaths all over the world, and people's health, they're concerned with their health. So we still decided to release the book, and we decided to pull back on the publicity, which is fine. The next thing, of course, that happened was supply chain issues. So people would order the book, and it took longer to get to them than they thought before. There was confusion on ordering, but that's minor stuff. So that's kind of all the, if we want to call it, negatives that happen. I mean, speaking engagements, no publicity, and supply chain. But that is so small in the big picture of things. The best things that have happened is I've been able to do so much more work remotely. I ramped up my tech game, and the gap has been filled with new coaching clients about career change and career adjustment, new consulting clients about organizational effectiveness and employee engagement. All those things have ramped up. My overhead's gone down, so I've been able to lower my rates, and I do a lot of this all day. So it's fantastic.
No, I mean it is, and I mean I've talked to well over 60, small business and entrepreneurs over the last 6 or 7 weeks, and I mean it's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly out there. There's people that are going to be able to thrive from this and are finding opportunity in it. There are people that are just going to weather the storm and hope things get back to normal, and there are ones that are just not going to make it, which is very unfortunate. And with that wide variety of uncertainty out there, it also gives you the fear of what's next. And when you talk about making sure that your work feels good and change what you want to be and be where you want to be, I was really happy to see the federal government throw out, I think it was $300 million into the mental wellness, because this is going to change the way people, like their mindset and how things are doing. And we talked about this again before, about the silver lining and how I like the time when I can spend a little more with our daughters during the day and things along those lines. But again, that change is going to be different. So that being said, what's going to be next for you, Tom?
Yeah. Well, for me, what I'm really happy about, and for what I've been able to do, is I've really been able to take a lot of what I do online. So the speaking engagements, I imagine they will pick up again, but I really can't wait for that. Virtual speaking, like doing keynotes like this, I don't think it's the same. But so the biggest thing I'm focusing on is helping individuals through my coaching practice. So that's career development, career change, leadership, facilitating teams. People are so open to doing that online now. So the consulting work and coaching work that I'm doing, that'll continue to create content. And there's kind of a war for content and attention right now. But I'm fortunate that with my background in teaching and all my organizational experience, 25 years in corporations, 11 years in the military, I'm able to combine those things and present a lot of online coursework. So that's all hosted by others, and we're just ramping that up now. So I'm able to get through this transition. But I think the most important thing, and this is what I'd offer to anyone out there, I mean, it's nice to see that, some people are thriving through this, and I'm very fortunate to be one of those. But it really boils down to, 3 things. And when people say, how are you getting through this? And I say, well, number one, what I do really hasn't changed that much. I'm still trying to help people in their workplace, help leaders succeed. Why I do it hasn't changed, because this just feels good to me. It's that thing that has deeply meaningful to me. All the thing that's changed for me is how I do it. So if people are saying, how can I get through this COVID thing? Number one, really reflect on what you absolutely love to do. You may not be able to do it today. That job may not be available to you, or it might be a little out of reach. You may have to change your business, but at least be aware of what is the thing you love to do. The why to do it, you can have all kinds of reasons, like I want to make money, I want to be successful, I want status, I want all these things. But people really don't care why you're doing it. They experience how you're doing your work. They experience how you're contributing to their well-being. So the number one thing is love what you do. Number two, make sure what you want to do, the thing you love, is really going to help someone in a way that's right for them. And I think that's the recipe for a sustainable and really fulfilling working life and business.
No, I agree. I love that advice. That is amazing. And you've kind of stole the last question that I
Uh-huh.
always ask, because I mean that advice is great. Love what you do and make sure it's going to affect somebody.
Yes.
And I'm seeing a lot of that right now, and in the entrepreneurial world here in Alberta. And I think that's what makes us so strong is
Mhm.
there are a lot of people out there stepping up, helping each other, working together that have absolutely nothing to do with their business. You know,
Mhm.
their business is on hold. What they do, well, they're putting together lists to help other companies that might be in need, just because they have the time that they need to do it. And I really do think we will come out of this better. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 2020, but I think long term
Mhm.
we are going to use this as a stepping stone into developing Alberta into, even greater than it already was.
Yeah, I agree, and I think as soon as people can start moving towards what they love, what'll really drive them forward is seeing how it's helping other people. And right now, I always say this when I talk to my leadership clients and leaders in organizations. I said, outside of a crisis, people will forgive and even ignore some bad behavior, but in a crisis, people will always remember how you treated them. So, number one, be kind, help somebody in a way that's right for them, and try to find what you love to do.
I think that's how we end it. I mean, that's a perfect way. It's awesome, Tom. Thank you so much for coming on. And again, if you need to get a hold of Tom and find out more information about his book called Your Best Work, you can click on his website, workfeelsgood.com, in the comment section. Go there. If you have any questions or need to reach out to Tom, you can do it through there, or you can just reach out to me. So again, Tom, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your knowledge, and I know we've gotten to know each other quite well over the last 3 or so years, and I'm looking forward to hooking up for our regular lunch dates.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jade. It's always a pleasure to be on telling it like it is. Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we will see you next week. Take care and stay safe.